Hello, and welcome to the Tulsa City County Library's program entitled What Just Happened. I am Alicia Latimer, coordinator of the African American Resource Center. What Just Happened is a program designed to showcase recent events impacting the Tulsa community with an emphasis on matters of historical significance. On behalf of the Tulsa City County Library, CEO Kimberly Johnson, and the African American Resource Center, or AARC. We offer our heartfelt thanks to each presenter. TCCL will offer this program as an historical record for posterity and for the benefit of future generations. Today's panelists include representatives from various community organizations who will provide insights and resource information designed to document what is going on in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and around the U.S. In a few moments, we will meet several panelists who play a significant role in promoting awareness of social justice issues and also have a stake in educating the public about what happened in Tulsa in 1921 and 2020. Our focus is always on ways to enhance our local trajectory for growth and revitalization. The panelists will now introduce themselves, name the organizations they represent, and discuss progress currently being made. Following the introductions, resources, ideas, progress, and opportunities for engagement will be provided. So, hello, panelists. Are you ready to begin?
Hi, I'm Mechelle Brown, Program Coordinator for the Greenwood Cultural Center.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Mechelle Place, and I'm the Executive Director for the Tulsa Historical Society and Museum.
Question one, we start with the Tulsa Race Massacre began May 31st, 1921, and culminated in 2 consecutive days of widespread violence and devastation against the Black community in Tulsa's Greenwood neighborhood, one of the wealthiest Black communities in the nation at the time, leaving many residents dead or imprisoned and homes, churches, and businesses destroyed. In 1921, racial matters reached the boiling point, which led to 35 city blocks being burned to the ground. Here on the 99th anniversary of that horrific event, you are invited to look at the racial matters that have been brought to the forefront regarding policing and race and movements such as the Black Lives Matter initiative. Could you discuss any similarities one might see between what happened in 1921 and what is currently going on in 2020?
So for me, it seems that we have once again reached a boiling point in our community. We felt that I would say throughout the month of June, there was so many different things going on, not just here in Tulsa, but across the nation, that revealed how far we have to go in terms of addressing racism and injustices in our society. Here in Tulsa, with it being the 99th commemoration of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, I think that we were emotionally raw. And then with Trump's rally here near the Greenwood district, with there being talk of him wanting to visit the Greenwood district, the historical Greenwood district, and rallies, ongoing rallies and protests, it just seemed that once again we had reached our limit, and it, for many of us, I think, caused some anxiety, a sense of fear, a sense of frustration and anger. I can't tell you, even though our facility has been closed since mid-March, we would go in periodically to work for a few hours and prepare to reopen, and people were stopping by, knocking on our door, just wanting to talk, looking for someone to talk to, just wanting to get their feelings off their chest. There were several young people, young men, early 20s, early to mid 20s, who were just so frustrated and said, we are so tired of hearing the older generation say, we need to pray about it. We need to put this in God's hands and we need to just trust God. They said, you've been doing that for generation after generation, decade after decade, and here we are. And so it was painful to hear these young men be so frustrated and feeling that they wanted to do something. They wanted action. They wanted to do something and know that people were hearing them. And for them, they felt that no one was hearing them. They didn't feel that, you know, my generation, my parents, that we were actually listening to them and hearing and appreciating how they feel. But it's been definitely a difficult period for us in Tulsa for a number of different reasons.
Yes, Mechelle Place.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for having me today to participate in this very important conversation. I am a person of hope. I am a positive person. I also live by the more things change, the more they stay the same. I think we've done a lot. We've come a long way, and what has just happened, I think, has really brought to light how much farther we have to go. Patriotism is making your voice heard, but I think equally more important is that it is time for the majority to listen, to really listen. My heart breaks for these young men, Mechelle, who were knocking on your door and so frustrated, and they do need to be heard. They do need to be heard. One of the things that I'm encouraging people, whether I see it on Facebook or in a conversation, our institution is also closed, is that I will often say, well, what do your Black friends say? And if they say, well, I don't have any Black friends, then I say, well, you know, I recommend you get some. I mean, I try to say it nicer than that, but I'm pretty firm about that.
Yeah.
And let me say that I'm grateful, particularly to the two of you who've been so, I feel like we've been on a journey together. And I'm grateful for that. And I just wish that more people would do it. I will tell you that I think we're at an awakening by so many people. And how I say that is, at the Tulsa Historical Society Museum, we launched a new website a year ago. From January until June, we had 187,000 hits on our website. Okay, that's a really great number. But this year, from January to June 15th, we had 4.68 million hits.
Wow.
They came from all over the world. And one of the things that we have done, and the reason that I believe we have so many of those hits, is because we have worked for years to make available through our website globally everything that the Tulsa Historical Society has in their collection that refers to Greenwood, Black Wall Street, the Race Massacre, post 1921. I didn't realize how big a deal that was. I just thought it was the right thing to do. But now I understand it is a big deal. And I think it's showing by the numbers of people who are looking for information. We've talked to national and international media. They're trying very hard to understand. Tulsa, I think, has, like it or not, we're a hot topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I really sense this awakening, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a really good thing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Many of our local organizations serve as sources of information and commentary to national and local news outlets and sites of social gatherings. They serve as sites of social gatherings. If you believe that in community improvements are in the making that will benefit Tulsa citizens in the long run, can you discuss those improvements in detail and the role your organization has provided or is providing as far as sharing that information on a national and local level? Michelle, you basically covered a bit of that,
I,
but there may be more you can add. And Michelle Brown, you also are welcome.
yeah. Well, another thing that we did besides making our collection available online, and I have talked to media internationally. In fact, the very first call that I got was in 2001 from a reporter from New Zealand who wanted to talk to someone about the riot, which is what we were calling it at the time. I had lived in Tulsa for 15 years. I had never heard that term before. So I needed it. I think because of Tulsa, the most often question that I'm asked is, why did I never hear about this? And I think particularly Tulsans are really angry that they never heard about it. They can't believe this happened in their community. And of course, I think there are a number of reasons why neither side talked about it. But now it's, as I used the word before, it's this awakening.
Another question that we want to ask. Juneteenth celebrations began spontaneously on June 19, 1865, amidst shouts, dances, prayers, and songs. The slaves in Galveston, Texas, reacted to the delayed news of freedom due to the Emancipation Proclamation and Proclamation Number 3, which both announced 2 years later, after they had been freed, that the slaves were free to those slaves. Since 1866, descendants of former slaves began to gather yearly to celebrate Juneteenth. Now, in considering the role of place in historical narratives, how has Tulsa, Oklahoma's handling of events past and present shaped the historical context of what just happened in consideration of the Juneteenth celebrations? Either one of you.
Go ahead.
Big question. So how has, say that again,
When
Alicia,
we look at place,
and maybe shorten it a little bit.
Yes. How has Tulsa, Oklahoma's handling of events shape the historical context of what just happened in consideration of the Juneteenth celebration?
Oh.
Okay, I know that was a mouthful.
Yes, it was. And that's a hard question to answer because, and I think the response may depend on who you ask, but I think for our community, the handling of the Juneteenth celebration this year was impacted by the discussion of and the consideration of Trump's rally being in Tulsa that same weekend, and the potential of it being on the very same day. And so I think at times we felt, or at least let me say that at times I felt that the city of Tulsa at times failed to consider the feelings, the emotions, the culture and heritage of the African American community. I at times felt that shouldn't have even, that more consideration should have been given to the date that was chosen and the impact that it may have had or was going to have on our community. So it's a difficult question, and it caused a lot of you know, a lot of really heated and emotional responses and conversations in our community. And I don't know why, but sometimes I think we are looked to as the organization that should know everything about what's going on and why everyone is doing what they're doing. So people were calling us, asking us about the Black leaders that they referred to, that they had spoken to Black leaders, and asked them to give them a tour of the Greenwood district. So everyone wanted to know, well, who did they talk to? Who are these leaders that are going to give them a tour? And who is blessing their visit to the Greenwood district Juneteenth weekend? And this is not, I mean, Juneteenth doesn't just happen for us Friday night. You know, it's basically, we party from, it started Thursday. Traditionally, it would start Thursday night and it would go all weekend till Sunday it would end with a gospel festival on Sunday night. So this was an all weekend thing for us. And it seemed to be, there was the potential for it to be tarnished because of so many things that were taking place in our community and the impact of different racially motivated injustices that had taken place across the country. But I think what we did was to come together and to show the commitment that we have to our community, show the love that we have for our community, show how important this was for us. And there's a group of people that made this happen in a very short amount of time. And they pulled this together. And so that speaks to their commitment and their, strength and their character, and a diverse group of people. You know, there's a group that put on much of what was taking place Friday. There's another group that came in and took care of what was happening Saturday. There was a group of young Black activists that led some of the activities I think took place overnight between Friday and Saturday. So a lot of people coming forward, wanting to make sure that this was successful, wanting to make sure that this took place. And from all accounts, it was beautiful. It was amazing to see so many people out enjoying themselves, enjoying each other, enjoying what we love about our culture, which is the rich music and the food and the energy, the dance and all of that. So yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
Mechelle, place.
Well, I was absolutely horrified when I first heard that President Trump was coming to So another thing that the Historical Society Museum has done is a couple of years ago, we did an exhibit on Greenwood, and we called it The Spirit of Greenwood, because we think that you can't talk about May 31 and June 1 without talking about May up to May 30th, and then you have to talk about June 2nd on fall weekends. And so we did an exhibit that covered all of that. And then what we did within the last year was to take that exhibit and transfer it onto what we call a pop-up exhibit. There's no technology to it. We want it to be very easy to use. Mm-hmm. And so it's 5 different panels on 2-sided. There's no technology, nothing to go wrong. And of course, it goes with the curriculum that has been produced by the Oklahoma Historical Society and the public school system. And so all you have to do is call the Historical Society and we would bring it out. So that's how we started. We received this grant to produce more copies of this exhibit about the spirit of Greenwood and also the race massacre. And we have worked with the library systems in northeastern Oklahoma. There are several communities that have it in their system, and so their local schools or businesses, groups, churches, whoever could contact their local library system and have it come to their facility.
Well, that's good to hear. I'm glad that that's taking place, Mechelle. We are, in the midst of this pandemic, we realize how important it is to offer virtual programming and information. So we are working to make sure that the files, the photographs, the narrative, everything that we have is available digitally. Right now, we're completing a virtual tour of the Mabel B. Little Heritage House that includes some narrative and some history about the house. And we are working with Dr. Carlos Hill with the University of Oklahoma. They are creating an exhibit that will be housed initially at the University of Oklahoma in Norman, and then it will travel to their university here, and then it will be housed permanently at the Greenwood Cultural Center. And it's somewhat, from the way that it's being designed now, it's designed so that it can be a traveling exhibit. So there will be some recordings of the survivors' testimonies, many of the photos that we've used, and some narrative. But so we're working and hopefully we'll have that completed by the 1st of 2021. Definitely want to have it completed by the 100-year commemoration. And then eventually, once we have completed the renovation of the Greenwood Cultural Center, which is some time out, we will create virtual tours of the exhibits that we have, which we expect to change. They definitely need to be updated and edited and revised and made a little more modern. I mean, they've pretty much been the same exhibits that we've had for quite a long time. So one of our priorities is securing funding for specifically to redesign the exhibits, but also to begin to consider how we can redesign the facility as we look forward to the funding that's been designated through the City of Tulsa's Improve Our Tulsa package. And I know there are some great things coming that are specific to the Greenwood District. Some initiatives. I think there's a Main Street program for the Greenwood area. I know that the Greenwood Chamber is working. They have new programs and different initiatives to help redevelop that area. So I think there are a lot of exciting things that are coming for the Greenwood District in that area where we're housed over the next couple of years. So
I'll ask each of you if you would like to say, give a response to the question after looking closely at what just happened. Where do we go from here? Where do you think we're going to go from here? And we'll let that be your closing remarks.
Deep in my heart, I do believe. And it's my job. It's my job. Mechelle, you said it so beautifully. You've lived this for a long time. I remember going to Europe to a conference that I was with Alicia there and telling Europeans it would be so easy for me to live a white life. It would be so easy. Piece of cake. Stay in my neighborhood, attend my white church, my neighborhood schools, my neighborhood grocery store. And that's very limiting. So it's my job. I have to reach out, not only to build those relationships within our North Tulsa community and beyond, but it's also my job to bring my white brothers and sisters along on the journey. That's my life's work. I would like to add that, you know, history since the beginning of time has been written by the victors. And so you only get the victorious side of the story. And I really would encourage everyone to tell their side, their experiences, their hopes, their fears, their dreams. Because if we don't have all sides recorded, then we don't get the whole story. We don't get the whole story, the whole picture of what really happened. So I know that much of this story is painful, it is fearful, you don't want to talk about it. But if you don't talk about it, then I'm not going to understand. I need to hear your voice. And I know it's difficult and I know it's hard, but I am begging you, in order for all of us to move in the right way down this path, we have to hear all the voices. Please, please tell your story.
Absolutely. Mechelle, do you have more to say? Or
I think I said it enough, but I think
no, never enough.
Talking. That's why I was calling people like Regina and Kevin Ross, like, hey, you want to do this interview? But I think that moving forward, and I want to be hopeful. Like, I truly want to be hopeful and believe that there is better for our community, that there's better for our city, that there is better for our nation. And I think that as we become better educated and we put ourselves in some of those uncomfortable situations and we have some really real conversations with people, you know, I think that we have no other option but to move forward and to work with those that are willing to work with us, speak to those that are willing to listen, love those that are willing to be loved, and simply continue to move forward as we all always have.
in closing, I'll say that feeling of having to explain or feeling tired of explaining is addressed in many of the resources available through each of our organizations. The library has resources where the issues of diversity and inclusion are readily available. We each, Mechelle has resources, the Cultural Center, and talk about cultural issues, cultural matters. So we each are doing our part, and that is what is important. It is important, like, that we make our statements, our feelings known, our opportunities are known, our resources available. And that's what we're doing to document this record in time. I believe in 1921, there were not enough people documenting what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And so we encourage people who may view this program, who may be in connection with each of our organizations, we encourage you to reach out and provide photos. We are able to document. Mechelle, you have a program available for people to document what happened with them. Tulsa City County Library at tulsalibrary.org has a medium through which people can share their own experiences. Mechelle, you are also capturing that information or available for people to give those oral histories, to provide
Mhm.
those written documents. But further than that, the video recordings. There are people who had pleasant and unpleasant experiences that they're only sharing with their family. We want to capture that information. That's why we're engaging in this program, and there will be others like it. That is why news outlets from around the country, around the world, focused, because there is a record being made of what happened for posterity, so that your grandchildren, great grandchildren, ancestors on down the line can say, oh, yes, I know about the Greenwood Cultural Center. I know about Tulsa Historical Society. I know about the Tulsa City County Library. I know about the John Hope Franklin Center. I know about the Centennial Commission. I know about what happens with City of Tulsa with the Commissioner Vanessa Hall Harper. We know these things at Tulsa Community College, Tulsa Public Schools, Pauline Harris, all of us are doing our part. And it's more
Yeah.
than just this, but certainly to make it available. So you have made significant
Yeah.
contributions and can please continue to do so. Thank you. That concludes our program. Thank you, ladies. I
Thank
so
you.
appreciate you. The
Thank
final quote we'll
you.
use. The final quote we'll use is until the lion tells his own tale, stories of victories of the hunt will always glorify the hunter.